Top 5 Ways to Impress Your Driving Test Examiner. Nothing makes new drivers more anxious and stressed than finishing their training and showing up for their driving test. Many people struggle to maintain enough composure under pressure to pass. Fortunately, you've located the appropriate location. We have a wealth of practical test ideas to assist you wow your driving examiner because we are experts in every facet of driving. Increase your chances of leaving with a brand new license by keeping an eye on this. Before we go on to the good stuff, it's important to note that while there are ways to positively affect the test's outcome, there isn't a surefire technique to dazzle the examiner and persuade them to overlook any errors you may have made along the way. Our advice will demand work from you, but it will be worthwhile in the long term. 1. Make a good first impression. Although initial thoughts won't have any bearing on the examiner's final feedback, it's wonderful to try. Are you really trying to give them the impression that you don't care about passing your test by slouching and forgetting to get your temporary license? Fortunately, there are a few things you may do to make a favorable impression on them. Make sure you have your photocard provisional license on hand when you reach the test center waiting area. Once the examiner calls your name, they will ask you to quickly hand it over. It doesn't look good if you make them wait while you look for it if you keep it in your pocket or wallet. After inspecting your license, they will ask you to complete a form with some information before accompanying you on your practical. Finding out what kind of examiner you have might be beneficial. Are they gregarious or a little more reserved? Generally speaking, in order to make you feel more at ease throughout your test, most examiners will start a conversation. It's merely meant to help you unwind a little and calm your test day anxieties. It's not meant to be a distraction technique. As long as it doesn't take your attention away from the task at hand, it could be advantageous to push for small talk with the examiner. Examiners must moderate numerous tests each day, which might get very monotonous for them. If you talk to them, it might make you feel better and cheer them up. However, if you're easily distracted, it might be preferable for you to remain silent. You are welcome to offer commentary on your actions if you desire. Although it may sound ridiculous, many students actually employ this technique, as in, checking my left mirror, indicating, and shifting into first gear. It helps the examiner comprehend what you're doing and offers you something to focus on. Whatever suits your particular driving style, do it. Go ahead as long as you're certain that what you're doing won't have a detrimental effect on your driving. The main line is that you ought to at the very least show respect to your examiner. You might be shocked to find that there are more instances of examiner assault. 2. Perseverance is key. Do you want to discover what really confuses new drivers? In the middle of the test, they believe they have failed for something and give up. When a trainee believes they have made a mistake, they immediately enter full-blown meltdown mode, regardless of whether they have stalled the car or taken the incorrect turn. The key lesson here is to not focus on your errors because doing so will just make you nervous and affect how you perform on the test as a whole. It's not like you can simply think your blunders or the marks on the examiner's feedback sheet away. However, by continuing, you can offer yourself the best opportunity to succeed. What does the proverb say? Be calm and continue. This is especially true for beginning drivers. There is no assurance that what you assume will fail automatically will really fail. So remember that. Stalled the vehicle? Restart after taking a deep breath. Missed looking in your blind spot? Remember this to avoid making the same mistake. If you build up too many, your minors will become majors. You are permitted to make mistakes on the test, but whether or not they lead to a failing grade is entirely up to you. 3. Be confident, but cautious. Candidates are expected to maintain a delicate balance between safety and confidence throughout the driving exam. It can be very challenging for many students to achieve both. Sometimes you believe you have enough time to confidently come out of a junction, but it turns out that you were being overconfident and disregarded safety. The exact opposite scenario is when you're unsure of your window of opportunity. You're standing at a crossroads for minutes when you could have gone several times over. The examiner wants you to appear confident while simultaneously taking precautions as needed. Therefore, don't rush. You won't gain anything from traveling too fast or narrowly avoiding a car out of a sense of urgency. On the other hand, exhibiting excessive hesitancy will simply convey to them that you are not yet prepared to drive independently. Avoid letting other drivers' actions influence your exam. You are the one being evaluated, not them. Simply because you are imitating other drivers' speeds, for instance, your examiner won't give you the benefit of the doubt. Throughout the test, it will be helpful if you merely keep in mind to stick to what you are familiar with. Your instructor will have covered all the material you might possibly need to prepare for the test during your classes. You might not be aware of it, but your teacher has worked closely with you to develop a safe driving approach. Why then would you alter it while taking the test? You shouldn't intentionally alter your driving style just because you believe the examiner would enjoy it, driving nervousness and nerves aside. Recall the lessons your instructor has taught you. If you need a reminder, you might want to invite your instructor to the test so that their presence will help you stay focused. 4. Be open with the examiner. Your examiner will be on the lookout for evidence that you're a safe driver throughout the entire practical, someone they'd feel confident passing to drive unsupervised in the future. While some students do succeed in finishing the course with a perfect score, joining our club of students with no minors, the majority make a few blunders along the way. The way you respond to these errors will determine whether they are minor or serious. Naturally, demonstrating patience is crucial, but it's not the only factor. It could be helpful to briefly let the examiner know that you've made a mistake when you clearly make one on the test, such as by hesitating too much. But won't that merely highlight my errors, you ask? No and yes. Pretending you haven't made a mistake could lead the examiner to believe you are unaware. You're accepting responsibility by bringing it up. Additionally, it forces you to avoid making the same error twice. It goes without saying that the examiner will test you more frequently or pay closer attention to that particular area of performance. They will have noticed even if you don't mention it because that is what they are trained to do. Of course, there are times when we make clear errors. No matter how much you try to deny it, the examiner will notice stalling, for instance. Having a conversation with the examiner can help you feel more at ease. I found that discussing my test stall with the examiner was a fantastic stress reliever. As I said about starting the car and leaving, it helped me relax. 5. Know what they're looking for. Examiners are looking for you to drive naturally, safely, and confidently, as we've already mentioned. They are not searching for any unique techniques. The only difference is that you're being graded on it rather than doing it as you would in a lesson with your instructor. Before your test, your instructor will have shown you around the test center, so you should be familiar with the neighborhood. Even though you won't be aware of the actual test path, it shouldn't really matter. Pay particular attention to changes in speed limits. Many learners have failed because they were unaware of the change. The secret is to plan. Plan ahead if you believe you are approaching a danger. On certain types of roads, including roundabouts and busy intersections, you'll need plenty of time to get used to the new situation. Keep it nice and slow and don't forget your observations when you're asked to perform a technique, such as pulling up on the right, bay parking, or parallel parking. Many people encourage students to make their mirror checks more obvious so that the examiner will notice you are conducting them. This just isn't necessary. You will be under careful observation by the examiner, who will be able to determine whether your observations are accurate. Look through the many driving test mistakes you'll be marked on to get a better idea of what the examiners are looking for during the practical. Common types of faults. Observation, hesitation, awareness and planning, following distance, not giving correct signals, poor lane discipline. You'll pass your driving test so long as you make no major faults and no more than 15 minor faults. Not too shabby. In essence, all you have to do to pass your driving test is follow the instructions. On a new test route, the examiner is only looking for you to duplicate what you've learned in your driving lessons. Although difficult, it is not insurmountable. They are not attempting to deceive you. They actually want you to pass more than you do since it will save them from having to see you again. They don't care about you. They just have a lot of people to get through. The greatest driving test misconceptions may lead you to believe otherwise, but examiners do not have a pass-fail quota. Finding a driving instructor who will teach you the skills you need to demonstrate that you are a safe and confident driver is the best method to impress your examiner.